Hey, what's up everybody? DDO44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so I felt like being spontaneous today. Actually, I didn't, but it was funny because it kind of coincides. I was walking down Lancashire as I always do. Decided not to use my phone to make a video because I was thinking to myself, maybe I'll go visit mom or something like that. And if I do that, and I know I'm gonna have a hard time keeping the phone charged in that distance. This is normal. So for me, I was thinking, let me just go down, walk down, and halfway down the block I was thinking, it's time for a shift, man. It's time for something else. I don't know if that means a shift in my life, moving somewhere else. I don't know if that means going to a different place I've never been. I don't know, but it just felt like it was time for a shift. So I ended up taking the train down to downtown. Didn't think too much of it. And I was going to go visit mom, and ended up getting on the wrong train, and it sent me in the opposite direction. And so for me, it was like, all right, well, let me just ride this thing on out. So I rode it all the way to the end of it. Took me all the way to Atlantic, and now I'm somewhere way out, but I'm finding a Target in this area, and just gonna buy what I need to buy from Target as if it makes sense to do that, and then walk back to the train station, which is a one-shot deal down Atlantic Boulevard, and then just head back. So I'm somewhere in like East LA or something like that. Who knows? I honestly don't even care, man. This is just how I felt today. Sometimes you just want to see something new, be somewhere new, not be worried about getting lost, quote unquote, or nothing like that. I don't care about none of that today. It's just how I'm feeling, man. It's not that I was tired of doing the same thing. That's not necessarily the vibe. I could have very easily been comfortable doing the same thing, but sometimes it's just good to switch anyway. Not necessarily because you're tired, just because it feels like there needs to be something else going on. Maybe there's something I need to do over here. Maybe I need to become familiar with this area because it's going to be a part of my future. Maybe it's nothing at all. Maybe I meet somebody. I don't know. But I was just pretty damn certain before I even started walking in this direction, before I even started down this process, that it was time for something different, like very different. And so that's what it is, man. Had a dream last night that annoyed the hell out of me. I don't remember who all was involved. I don't know why. But I remember being especially irritated in that dream. And I woke up thinking, man, I do not want to feel like that in real life. whatever that was bothering me, whatever was getting to my spirit in such a negative way, I think it may have led to how I feel about right now. Let's just go somewhere else, you know what I mean? So that's what I'm doing, man. Ain't thinking too much. But, still seeing some of the same stuff on my phone that I tell you guys about, man. Children suffering and all that stuff that's going on in the genocide, man. It just makes you want to do something. I think that might have catered to it too. Some of the stuff I was seeing on my phone this morning. A little girl carrying her little sister on her back because her little sister had broken her foot. Stuff like that. The little girl couldn't have been older than, I don't think she was older than 7. Maybe 7 years old. And the littler one was maybe like 4. She carrying her on her back, walking down the street to God knows where for how long. Luckily enough, we saw a follow-up video where somebody had gotten to them and, kind of set them down and put them somewhere. He said he was going to buy them a bunch of stuff, just kind of get them into a safer space. Hopefully that is effective. But as long as they're in Gaza, they're always in danger, and that's the reality of that type of situation. See another kid, he was talking about how he had watched his mom lose her life. Not shotgun, but some type of shot to the leg took her from him, and he was probably 3-4 years old. Like, this is the type of stuff. It's like when you see this in your phone, you're just like, all right, man, whatever the hell my problem is, it ain't a real problem. Whatever the hell I got going on, it ain't that serious. Whatever I'm frustrated about, there's a solution that's a lot better than their solutions or whatever it is that they're seeing. So it's like, man, I don't really care to complain. I just want to do something different. That's how I feel, man. Just want to do something different, be somewhere different. And so that's really what this is, man. Just walking down random streets, far away from where I'm at, far away from where I'm from. I don't really care too much about anything. I got my charger on me. I got my water with me. My phone is pretty much charged, as good as it's going to be charged. And I know where I'm going. Believe it or not, I actually know exactly where I'm going. So, you just live, man. You just live. You don't allow yourself to worry too much about what could go wrong or what frustrates you or whatever, man. When you see people going through real suffering, it just changes the dynamic of your entire intention, man. So that's really what it is. I spoke to my uncle this morning. I gave him back the money that I owed him. I owe him a lot more than that, obviously, but the $100 that I asked for extra, I wired that back to him or to my grandfather's fund. I guess I'm not really sure. Whatever they pay out of to pay me is what I sent it back to via Zelle. And I gave him a call, and he was telling me my grandfather, they're trying to have him meet up with some doctors and stuff like that. He's still having the dizzy spells. They took him off all that medication that he was on, whatever it was. My uncle snatched him off of that, which I definitely agree with. You know what I mean? That sort of thing. So it was good hearing my uncle's voice this morning talking about that. And it just is what it is, man. I always am in need of finances from them, right? We're just going to turn around and send me that same money back a couple of days from now, no question. But it's not about that. It's about the principle of it all. When you don't need something, you give it back. And maybe he could use it for the time being. Maybe he could use it for the next 3 days. You know what I mean? It's not about anything other than I don't want to take more than I need from my family, from the fund that they're providing me so much, whatever the case may be. If there's no need for the extra, there's no need to hold on to it. If it ain't gonna do nothing but sit in my account, it can sit in theirs. You know what I mean? And that can create the type of trust that I think is necessary in these type of situations, so they know I'm not just gonna continue to drain. So that's really what it's about for me. Not continuing to drain, not continuing to just take, but to let people know, hey, I'm not for the money. I need the money. I appreciate the money. I respect the money, but I respect y'all more. So let me give you back what you need. That's a message I hope to have sent. Principle more than anything else. And we're talking about some things, man. My uncle's very frustrated about some of the stuff that he's seeing, man. The whole thing about taking kids from the parents if the parents aren't willing to allow for sex change operations for a child. It's becoming a situation where they're trying to pass some laws that put the parents in some type of trouble for not allowing their kids to have their surgery or whatever. For me, man, I just, and I was thinking about it walking down the street. God was helping me understand. He was like, the devil is doing a lot of things, but one thing he always wants to do is create confusion. And that's really what this is a lot of confusion. I think, as I said to my uncle, we're ready to apply so much uncertainty to a child's understanding of themselves in every area, but when it comes to this area, we let the child lead the way. As it pertains to, they know who they are at 3 years old, and therefore you're supposed to support them in whatever choices. But if a child says he wants to be a fairy at 3 years old, it's like, no, you can't be a turtle. But when it comes to wanting to be a boy or a girl, if they're a girl or a boy, they have that all figured out. I just think that is an agenda in and of itself, to apply that thought that way, but not apply it in any other way. Where does it end? Where does it begin? Are they trying to change the age of consent since kids know who they are? That early in age, why wouldn't they be able to make their own decisions and everything else? And that's what it becomes a weird conversation. You know what I mean? And I think that's kind of what they want to open the door for. To lower the age of consent, to lower the age of what would be considered appropriate and all of that, so that those who want to take advantage of that, grown people who want to take advantage of that, of those children, are legally within their right to do so. And I think that's kind of what the gateway is to this. That's what this is supposed to open up the door for. And we got to be very careful now that we're starting to understand what our government, just how devious they are toward the children in Gaza. It allows you a true north for understanding what they really think of children everywhere. And so best believe there's some people who will champion the killing of these kids, championing the assault of these kids in whatever way it would be, if it fit their agenda or if they were the right skin color for the treatment, so to speak. And that's what this has taught me. Every child matters unless they're Palestinian. You know, that's really what it comes down to. It used to be every child matters unless they're black. But they've changed that tune, and now black people matter a little bit with Palestinian kids. It's okay to discriminate against them. It's okay to champion their suffering, because one day they're allegedly going to become terrorists or something like that. It's just crazy to me. It should be crazy to you too. And so for me, it's just like, man, I don't know, man. I just understand that there are a lot of sickos out there who are trying to weasel their way into what it is that they want normal to be normal. And it's a lot of people who grew up as children who wanted to be given support for the changes that they wanted to make in their lives in that way, and are applying that logic to how children ultimately would want to be today, projecting their own unhappiness and misfortune onto a generation of children who may not have the same context to their lives, of whom maybe this issue becomes a problem in allowing it to be a part of their lives. You introduce something to a child, and then the child knows what it is. Until you introduce it, they don't know what it is. And that stands for all things, good and bad. So for us to act like children are supposed to have things under, have it all figured out, it doesn't make any sense other than to say that people want to take advantage of kids, man, and they shouldn't. That's what I know is there to see. Everything else is just a little weird. In the grand scheme of what we're looking at, it's just a little strange. So I don't know, man. I'm a man of God. I don't want to hurt people's feelings, you know what I mean? I don't think that this is the only thing God will be unhappy about. I'm not as passionate about it as my uncle is. I think that I'm finding that a lot of people from that community are the ones who are standing up for the rights of Palestinians. Standing up for the rights of people who are suffering right now. They're some of the ones that are showing the most compassion the quickest. And so who am I to say that they shouldn't be given whatever they should be given, or that they shouldn't have opportunities to make choices or have some say-so in how things are done or whatever, you know what I mean? It's like, for me to ignore that when I'm seeing a bunch of straight people who could give a damn about what it is that I'm passionate about, and I see a bunch of people from their community who are championing it very quickly, doing more than I'm doing. That matters. If I'm going to say that they're all bad or that God is so unhappy with them, am I supposed to remove that variable from my conversation? I don't think I can do that. And so that's where the conversation becomes, the devil's trying to do a lot of things. Not just what it is you're paying attention to, but he wants to create confusion and have you exile people who shouldn't be exiled, have you looking at people funny that are actually about the same things you are, have you keep it from having conversations with people who you would be good friends with and who would be willing to save your life or give you a kidney or whatever you need, just because of the differences that you are told that they have in them that otherwise makes them somebody God will be unhappy with. That type of confusion is what ultimately I think the devil's working on the most, beyond instilling whatever darkness in people that is there, but also putting them in a position to not be reachable because they're being shunned by people who think they're of God when they're just as dark as well. And so that's what I'm starting to understand, or have begun to kind of work into my equation. It's not as simple as God is mad at these people, they do a different thing, they pray differently, they think differently, or some people that I trust and pray with say they're indoctrinating devilish behavior, so therefore we don't talk to them. I just think that that's something that is a part of what the devil's doing. And is to separate people, have you close your mind off to the goodness in people. It was my grandmother, my uncle's mom, who told me to look for the good in everyone. Look for the good in everyone. And I guess what comes to mind is if you look for the good in everyone, you'll find it. If you look for the bad in everyone, you'll project it onto them, whether it's there or not. And that's what I've come to learn in my own walk. And so I don't think that both conversations, as it pertains to whether or not, children should be given opportunities to make their own decisions as it pertains to who they want to be identified as and what surgeries they should ultimately be able to have. I don't believe that that's a conversation I'm qualified to have, but I also don't think that I should be shutting out the opinions of people who may be a part of their group, to be a part of their community, and the opinions and the perspectives that ultimately they believe those children may have, and the sufferings that maybe someone like myself who doesn't relate to them but can control what happens to them ultimately would never be able to understand. That's an opinion that I think is valuable in helping me do what I need to do to contribute to their betterment. And so is this perfect solution somewhere in between the extremes of not supporting it and allowing for parents to be treated as if they've done something wrong for not supporting it. You know what I mean? Like, in between those two extremes, maybe there is a solution within the opinions of responsible, good-hearted individuals from their community who want the better for children and don't want to exploit them, who understand that children might not have it all figured out, but maybe a few of them may understand themselves a bit better than the rest of them, and they deserve an opportunity to have their voices heard. Maybe that's the solution somewhere in there. But I'll tell you this, man, this all or nothing behavior that we have as it pertains to how we treat one another, it ain't getting us too far, man. I can tell you that. Telling people they're wrong for thinking or praying or believing or loving the way they are, it ain't getting us no closer to where we need to be as people, man. I can tell you that. Maybe I don't have to agree with what you do or taking part in your celebration or, pray as you do, but I don't have to make up lies about you. I don't have to tell people that all of you are any one thing. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what we've done in a lot of cases with a lot of people we don't understand. We don't have a conversation with them, but we listen to people we do have conversations with, and they tell us all about them, who also ain't having conversations with them. You feel me? And that's what I'm seeing they doing to the Arabs. And I listen to the same propaganda I've always heard about Arab people. That they're terrorists, that they have violence and doctrine in their way of worship, and that if we don't find a way to rid ourselves of Islam, it'll slowly but surely kill the world. And they'll come over here and bomb us, so we gotta bomb them first. And they'll come over here and terrorize us. I remember thinking thoughts like that were true without actually having a conversation with an Arab person or seeing anything that would properly represent them from them. Right? I remember just it being a second nature thing to where, yeah, we got to go fight in Iraq and blow them the hell up. Yeah, innocent people are being killed, but, they going to kill us. So we had better. Like, I remember feeling that way to a degree as a child and realizing how manipulated my mind was and how messed up that was applied to them or anybody else when you really consider it. And to think that they would apply that stuff to my own people, you know what I mean? To say that we were terrorists or gang members or whatever the hell they want to say we are to be, to justify however poorly they'd like to treat the lot of us. I think that at the end of the day, when you grow up and you be around people that they've pointed out or painted out to be horrible people, and you see the humanity in them, you no longer listen to them when they tell you that these people are all one way or that this is what needs to happen in order to protect you from them. When you start paying attention to who they are, the people who are telling you that, you realize those are the people who are accusing and furthermore backing up the behavior that they ultimately apply. Every accusation is a confession with those people. And when you come to understand that, then you realize they're painting out a picture they're describing themselves. They are truly applying what they are to others. And that's something that they've done to the Arabs, they've done to the blacks, they've done to the brown community in this country. They've done to so many. And so as a person of color, I just say I reject all of that. What do you say to me, someone who wasn't necessarily fully buying into the idea that I should just champion the slaughtering of Arab people because of the lies that you told about their people? But I have looked in my phone and saw the humanity in those people, and then furthermore seen how the suffering they were taking on was coming from you, who told me that they were the worst people in the world. What do you say to me, who sees that with his two eyes? Who sees their children suffering, who sees the parents who are applying love to their children, just like my mother applied to me. See people praying to God, maybe not the same way I pray to God, but being just as devout as my mother raised me to be. I see more similarities in the goodness that I recognize in my life in them than I do in those who are telling me they're the worst people in the world and that I need to fear them. I see more similarity in the humanity and the suffering that they're taking on than I do in the people who are ultimately telling me that it's for my betterment that they continue to attack those people. What do you say to me? That's what I have to ask my government. That's what I have to ask those people who are so damn certain. What do you say to those of us who didn't buy into the propaganda but have seen the humanity that you claim isn't there? What do you say to us? What is your retort to that behavior that we're seeing that is human in nature, that you say isn't there because they all terrorists? Am I supposed to ignore that and trust you? How does that work? When I not only see their humanity, but I also see what they're going through because of what you're putting them through. And I'm supposed to just sit back and be okay with that because you told me that they're bad people. It makes sense. And you can't. And what they end up doing is smearing somebody like me who will tell you that or pose that question as to be sympathized as a terrorist, but won't actually describe the confusion in that narrative. Because at the end of the day, all they have to do is look at the same thing I'm looking at and they'll see the humanity and the suffering of those people. Two things that they say are respectively acceptable and not there. Instead of telling me something that'll make that make sense, they'll tell you something about me that'll make you look at me the same way they look at those people. Because they don't want to have to they don't want to critical think, they don't want to engage in those who are critical thinking. What they do want to do is continue to treat these people poorly and have your support behind it. They want to continue to ethnically cleanse these people off of their own land. And they need you not to raise no hell about it with your critical thinking and your identification of suffering and humanity. They want you to be too caught up in whatever it is that they're telling you to be caught up in, including your very own identity politics. I first, me, them, I don't care about them because I'm thinking about me type bullcrap. We love Israel because Israel's on our side and it's all about our flag because America first and Israel's our neighbor, so we got to take care of them because that's what we're on. Like, they want us thinking about that instead of the images that we're seeing of children suffering and people dying all over the damn area that they say is full of terrorists. Ain't nothing but innocent people over there, and they're killing off all the pressed people, all the people that are there to tell you, to show you and identify the humanity in you, to smear away the propaganda that's placed upon your heads that will ultimately allow you to support their suffering. They want to remove all of those entities from their building. So furthermore, they don't have to answer that question or tell you anything when you identify what it is I just described as humanity and suffering. Two things that are not supposed to be going hand in hand. They're supposed to be terrorists, and therefore we're supposed to be okay with their suffering, except for the last year we've been seeing the humanity. I've been seeing them treating their people right. I've been seeing what they're talking about. I've been seeing the different talented individuals that are within their community. People who have something to contribute to the earth. See, that's one of the arguments that they want to say, that those people don't contribute nothing. But what do you say to me, who's been watching what they contribute? Wizard Basan Wan and a young lady named Renaud, or Renaud. She has her own cooking channel in Gaza. The girl's only like 9 years old. You want me to think she can't contribute nothing? You want me to think she can't be a functioning member of your society? You're not going to be able to convince that to somebody who's actually seeing the humanity within the people. So then I have to turn back to you and say, well, why are you treating them so evil? If they are not what you say they are, then why can intelligent, critically thinking individuals back their suffering and listen to people tell them things that are not true and believe those things as if they are, without any homework being done? Why would I think that makes any sense to anybody that claims to be someone who's about the spirit of honesty and truth and ethics and morals? A country that's allegedly under God. Why would I believe that they would believe lies told by liars and continue to support people who would otherwise punish humanity? If not for something so simple and small as racism and Islamophobia and all the different other types of phobias and supremacy and all these other type of things that don't help nobody but the people that ultimately stand behind it. It's awful, man. You got people who call themselves influencers, people who run Hollywood, control Hollywood, telling you that the people that I've seen with my own eyes who have humanity to them, children that don't have nothing, a bad bone in their body, are going to grow up to be terrorists. That's what they want to tell you, that they're going to grow up to be the worst people in the world and you need to hate them. Why? Why? Because you told me that? And then I listen to facets of the people that they ultimately support talking about they're going to ethnically cleanse the land and take over the whole land that those people live in. That they're going to make sure that they kill all of them and all this type of stuff. I'm supposed to ignore those displays? Why am I supposed to ignore those displays? Isn't that goes against the narrative you're telling me about them? I'm supposed to support them, right? If they're making TikToks, dancing around, celebrating this and screaming that people need to be leaving the land and celebrating the death of children and stuff like that, I'm supposed to ignore all that, right? Because, of course, the narrative is Israel's the good guy, the Arabs are the bad guys, and the Arabs' children are gonna grow up to kill us all, right? So we gotta run from that. We gotta do something about that, right? That's what you've been telling me. But when I look at the Israelis and see how they behave, I see all the worst traits that ultimately my mother raised me not to engage in. And when I look at the Palestinians, I see the love that my mother applied to me in them as they continue to go through things that I probably couldn't survive myself as a grown man. How can I coincide that narrative that you're giving me if my eyes are telling me otherwise? What do you say to me? And see, that's what it really comes down to. I need every one of these so-called sophisticated leaders, your Harrises, your Trumps, all these individuals, all these people, AOCs, I need all of them to explain to me why I need to ignore what I just saw and follow them down this path. What angle am I not seeing? How can I unsee what I saw so I can trust you again? I'm not gonna be able to do that, am I?
She can't get mad.
And that's really what it comes down to. And the problem is, a lot of people ain't seen it yet. A lot of people haven't seen the humanity and the suffering. A lot of people still believe the narrative. A lot of people don't know what the Israelis are doing. They ain't seen the settlers throwing rocks at people and, chasing old ladies off of their land and stuff like that. They ain't seen the behavior that they couldn't get behind represented by the people they were told to get behind. They ain't seen it. They don't know what's going on there. They don't know that place looked like 1955 USA as it pertains to Jim Crow. They live in Jim Crow to the max over there. And that's what our country is ultimately trying to get behind, their ability to uphold that, or rather just turn the thing into an all white state, is if you want to keep that application of narrative on it. If you want to compare it, that's like them saying we're going to kill off all the black folks and starve them out and leave it to be a only white nation. Like, that's what they're trying to do over there in Palestine. That's what they're trying to do. And it's like, if we don't have the ability to spread that awareness and let people know that both sides of the political spectrum are paid to uphold that standard of mistreatment and racism, if we're not telling people this, they're not going to understand it, because the media ain't going to tell them. And like I said, they're killing off all the press members in those places so that they cannot spread that word to everybody else. That's what they're doing. They're killing them off. And most Americans don't even know this, man. They have no idea how real this is. They don't know how much they relate. A lot of people relate to what's going on over there. They don't know that a lot of what it is that they've suffered has also been manipulated by this same entity's money. Some of your own problems come from Israeli money and Israeli lobbying, putting their energy into creating confusion in your various communities. Like, you don't even know this. And that the various things that you ultimately addicted to, your favorite company is owned by those people, and every dollar that you send back to these companies buying the things that you love, ultimately going back to uphold this apartheid, uphold this Jim Crow like energy. It's what the mission is for them. That's the whole point of what it is they're about, and they own a good portion of every damn thing. Most people don't even know this. They don't know this. They don't know the first thing about this, and it is their government, their very government, that's continuing to lie to them about it. But they're getting hints, because when you go through what the people in North Carolina just went through with the hurricane, and they ain't sending you no money, and they talking about they sending that money to Israel, then you start understanding that there's some things you need to understand that you don't understand. Then you start knowing what they're doing, because you start doing your own homework, trying to figure out why you aren't getting humanitarian aid during your crisis. It's because they value the upholding of that apartheid circumstance in the Middle East. So they send the money back to all those people who are doing nothing but creating enemies and hurting people, to protect them so that they can keep on doing it. And it sounds like a nightmare, but it's actually what's happening. It sounds like something that ain't happening, but that's actually what's happening. Sound like something out of a damn Black Mirror or Twilight Zone. But the truth of the matter is, if you do your own homework, that is exactly what you're going to find. That your country is upholding the rights of the bullies to continue bullying, the rights of the mass murderers to continue mass murdering, literally. And every person you see waving the Palestinian flag is trying to keep that from happening, trying to raise awareness to that reality. That you should care about that because you fund it. It's your tax dollars that are funding such things. You should care about this because it's the very thing that you cannot say on your various platforms, because they own those, and they're trying to make sure that you don't get a chance to tell the truth about what they're ultimately up to. This is the truth. And the very things that we're addicted to ultimately pay into the behavior that we would never get behind. Our very favorite McDonald's, everything, all of it, it's owned by these people. They own it all. Which is why you ain't never gonna get the truth out of nowhere but people like myself who will tell you what they've seen. They're sending your brother and your sisters and everybody that you have attached to you in the military over to protect these people's right to be awful, literally. That's what they're doing. They're raising hell, and they're gonna tell you Iran is the problem, but Iran is not the problem. Iran are the ones that are saying, you know what, we're the superpower that can do something about this, and we don't want you to continue terrorizing our Arab brothers. That's all Iran is. A superpower of oil to the maximum that ultimately your country, America, wants. All of their oil, just like they want Venezuela oil, just like they want a lot of different places oil, but none more than Iran. See, this is what needs to be understood. Actually, Venezuela has more than Iran, believe it or not, but Iran has a hell of a lot of it. They want that oil, man. And they feel like the best way they can get that oil is to have a de facto state in the Middle East, which is what Israel's supposed to be. A state. Not just a state as we call it a state, but a state as in the United States of America. The 51st state. Yes, that's what they want Israel to ultimately be. But they're going to expand it to basically engulf the entire Middle East. Greater Israel. Problem is, America's never going to get that land from the Israelis, because the Israelis have connections in a lot of different places that ultimately make it so that they're just as rich as America themselves. It's just why we continue to have our government controlled by them, I believe. That's my theory. Which is why AIPAC can continue to buy into all of your politicians, is because the reality is they have more money than them. They have more money than your government. And I'm willing to bet if you continue to dig into what our deficit is, this country's deficit, you're probably going to find that this is probably what's stirring up a lot of what that deficit ultimately is. That American debt, yeah. That's what you're going to find out. They've been doing a lot of stuff they had no business doing with those individuals specifically that has run this country and the type of debt we're in. It's just a theory. I don't have any evidence behind that one. But I'm telling you, man, somebody got to be understanding in the sense that we can't just be afraid to talk about these type of things. We can't be afraid to tell the truth, because there's too many people who are, and that's why the suffering ensues. When you see little girls holding their little sisters on their back and little boys screaming, talking about, I lost my mommy, she got shot in the leg in front of me type stuff, and they 3 years old, that's when you understand that something needs to be done. This is not something you can just turn your head to and say, nah, there's nothing wrong with that. There's plenty wrong with that. Plenty. No matter how many people want to normalize the behavior, there's nothing normal about what it is that you're seeing if you're looking at the same stuff I'm looking at. And it's not something to turn a blind eye to just because you want to see our country become more successful. It's not going to bring you success. It's going to bring you more enemies. You're going to have superpowers like Iran who are going to want to blow us all away because of what it is our country is doing up under our noses, while we are none the wiser. That's what I'm telling you. We need to become more aware. We need to get involved in these understandings. We need to start raising our voices to spread the word about these understandings. Because if we don't, we're going to be hit by the reaction to that behavior without even knowing it. Without even knowing it. We're going to look up and stuff going to start getting bombed in our own damn country because of what they're doing to these people. So that's the messed up part about it. It's going to be a lot of Americans who potentially are in harm's way because of these behaviors, and many of them don't even know what's going on. And so that's what I'm telling y'all, man. I'm going to tell the truth regardless. I don't care how long or how much it costs or what it makes me look like. I don't care, bro. Die is something. Might as well die trying to save others. That's how I look at it. A lot of people think each other is their enemy and whoever's keeping them from getting their money. But the truth of the matter is the money's controlled. Israel owns the banks. All they got to do is freeze all of those. You ain't get a dime. I don't care how hard you hustling. All they got to do is pour all their money into the cops, which is what they do in any damn way. Training the cops the same way they training their soldiers to do the same things that they're doing over there, over here. Supporting those who would otherwise bully those who don't have a lot. That's what they do. Cop City, what you think that's about? And when they start re-implementing more unfair practices, don't be surprised, because it's an unfair entity that's at the top of everything, controlling everything, upholding that type of behavior in the Middle East. That is exactly what's happening. So when they try to bring back that type of apartheid on this land, don't be surprised. Don't be up in arms, because I done told you. This is what they're about. Separating families, hurting people, being preventative in regards to what they think could be a threat by killing children. Like, that's literal. It's not about, that's not something I'm making up. That's what's happening. And a lot of people don't think there's nothing they can do about it. That's a lie. They need you to think there's nothing you can do about it. They need you to think you got to choose between the lesser of two evils while they control both evils. Nah, fam, ain't got to do that. You gotta stand against that and be a part of what's possible in regards to standing against that. That's what you need to do. To protect not only those people who are suffering right now, but those who will suffer tomorrow, which likely will be you. That's our responsibility. We got kids in this world, a lot of people do. A lot of people got grandkids in this world. You can't afford for entities like this to continue tumbling forward their karma onto us just because they want to do illogical, unwise things that ultimately create more enemies from places they can't see. You don't want to have nothing to do with that. You don't want your kids to be in a world like that. You got to stand up. And that you won't be able to stand up later on, maybe, if you continue to let these people control things. I'm telling y'all, man, this is not a conversation for the weak. This is not a land for those who don't want to think, bro. You got to stand up to this type of energy, especially given the fact that it's so powerful. This is not the time to roll over. It only gets worse if we do. You got to use your devices and everything to become more aware of what it is we're talking about. You need to follow those people on Telegram, follow these people on Instagram, get in the know, listen to people who are talking about this. Get in the know, man. Because I'm telling you, this Palestinian thing is not as simple as just a fight in the Middle East, y'all. This is something that's going to have people hating us, righteously hating us for funding suffering of people who do not deserve it, whether you know it or not. In support of people who definitely don't care about you. Whoever you are. And that's what I want my people to understand, whether you're black, white, Latino, Asian, you are goyim to this entity. Meaning you are beneath them. Their interest is to wipe you out in the end of this. It's not to see you succeed. It's not to do business with you. They tolerate you. They really want you off the earth. And what they're trying to do is expand themselves at this point to get as strong as they need to be land-wise. They want all of the Middle East. You understand what I'm saying? And they're trying to expand from there. And as soon as they take over all territories, then they will clench their teeth into anything and everything they want. They'll wipe out everything that they don't like. They'll get rid of anybody that don't pray like them. They will hurt all children if they feel the need. This is who they're proving themselves to be during this circumstance. While we're sitting here adhering to them because they control so much, you don't even realize they got an end game, and that end game is bad. A lot worse than what we're seeing right now. While they're telling you to fear others, their enemies, those who would hold them accountable. And you listen to them because you trust them because they've had their clinches in your eardrums with their propaganda for a very long time. But that doesn't mean that what they're about is anything for your betterment. It never has been. Remember, you're a goy to them. And so that's what I'm trying to get people to understand, man. Right now, I'm just a human being saying a bunch of stuff nobody knows. Tomorrow, the stuff that I'm talking about will be understood by everybody because a lot of them will have lost people because of it if we don't do something to stop it today. This is the reality of it. You think the Palestinians are the last one going to be pulling their people up out of rubble? You ain't paying attention. You don't understand. They created them bombs for a reason, and they have not been used on land as of yet in your neighborhood. But believe me, they have every intention of blowing up a lot of y'all. Some of the stuff I'm looking at right now might not be around if these people continue to move in the direction they're moving. Only if it benefits their wealth to keep it going. I'm telling you. So we got to get our minds right, man. It's not time to be fearful. To be afraid tomorrow when there's no chance that you can do something to stand up for yourself. Right now, you need to spread the word. Right now, we need to get up and start looking around and saying, what can we do to stop paying into their wealth? And what can we do to make ourselves strong enough to be able to hold them accountable before they reach their end game? That's what we need to do. Before they either blow up the entire world or prompt their enemies to do so. So I'm telling y'all, man, it's just a matter of time before all of this is second understanding. It's not going to be a distant conversation later on. This is the truth. This is what controls a lot of what's going on around you. This is ultimately what everyone's fight is in this world right now, whether they know it or not. You got to fight the Zionists. You got to stand up against that energy. You got to defy that wealth that they have, defy that power that they have, so that you can hold on to your humanity. Otherwise, it's just a ticking time bomb waiting to destroy everything. That's what Zionism is. It's human cancer. That is proven in everything I've been paying attention to, and it will be proven in everything you pay attention to if you start paying attention to what it is I've been paying attention to. Palestinians are not your enemy. They represent the last of those who would trust God beyond the energy of the Zionists, which is why they want to annihilate them so much and take their land from them. They're golden to these people because they can't insert their propaganda into their heads to warp their brains like they did the rest of us. This conversation is much deeper than just money, man. It's spiritual. It's much deeper than power. It is spiritual. They're doing this and they think they're doing it in the name of their God. And when you understand that, you know it ain't nothing gonna stop them. There's nothing they won't throw at this situation. Everything that they've accused the Arabs of being is exactly who they are. It's exactly what they're about. The extremism of their own religion and interests. We'd be wise to start respecting that a bit more as we go forward. And Zionists need to understand this. If you continue on this path, it ain't gonna be nobody here but you. If you survive this, the whole world will be just you. And what you end up finding out is that the energy that you've engaged in and allowing yourself to become that powerful will ultimately consume you. It's the presence of everyone else that offsets that keeps y'all off each other's asses. It's the same thing we said about white supremacy. If it ain't nobody left but you, all you're going to do is turn inward and hurt you. That's all it is. You got to eat something. The best thing for you to do is to extinguish that for which is fire in your own belly so that it doesn't eventually engulf everything, including yourself. That's my message to the Zionists. You would be wise to change your stripes. So that's really what I got to say, man. I move with the spirit of the Holy Ghost, man. I tell you the truth. My mother told me to follow the Holy Spirit. He would be my comforter. And in moments like these, it's what powers me to speak. I will not be afraid as it pertains to what needs to be done so that we can have our reputations intact as American people, as whatever your relationship is to the world. You should not have the story told by those who dominated what you were about and who you were. If this continues on this path, the only thing they're going to remember about our generation is that we were complicit to genocide. That one way or another we paid into this problem. And that we sat back and did nothing while it manifested into whatever, chasing our own dreams and goals that were not sustainable at all. That's the only thing they're going to remember about us. And that's what I'm trying to prevent by putting this in the cloud somewhere. We were fighting. We would have fought more. We would have done more if we would have known how to. If we weren't so brainwashed by the entity that was Zionism, we would have spoken on the suffering of children. We would have spoken on the mischaracterization of the Arab American or the Arab person. We would have spoken on the similarities between the black plight and the Arab plight today. We would have spoken on a lot of this stuff if we weren't rocked to sleep by capitalism and rocked to sleep by our own selfish interests. We would have been better. BDF 44. I thank you all for watching.